a single car team.
Brad Keselowski won this race.
500. Delano, there are the Wood brothers. Oh my goodness. First win in 10 years.
Side by side.
Come on,
Bandit hangs on.
Norm was not going to be denied.
And we did it. Yeah!
Well, hey, y'all. How y'all doing? Welcome to the Also Ran broadcast. I am your host, Derrick Nelson, and we got an exciting show for y'all today. Let me just start by saying this. Bobsleds, movies in Hollywood, and people doing crazy things you would never believe. Race cars and vineyards all have something in common, and it could be our guest. I guess y'all find out in a little bit. So you know me, you see me, I'm right here. We got another guy behind the scenes pushing the buttons, and that would be producer Josh. Producer Josh, say hello to the people.
Hello, I am here. What's going on, man?
Well, I was kind of hoping you'd come out with hello, people, but that's okay. That's why I'm the face of this program, right? Because I got the personality, the wit, and the charm, and I also got two thumbs. So anyway, yeah, I am super excited for our guest for this show. Talking about movies and stuff. Let me just show y'all what I got going on here. In prep for the show, I knew who we were going to be having on, and I brought out, if I could do this without dropping it, my stash. So there's a brief little glimpse of some movies that have fast cars, crazy stunts. The stories may not make sense, and they may be ridiculous. For example, the original Gone in 60 Seconds. People will debate me to no end that Nick Cage's Gone in 60 Seconds is the best. Well, Nick Cage's Gone in 60 Seconds has a storyline and a lot of explosions and stuff like that. But if you want to see a ridiculously long car chase and you want to see a blue oval, I'm Mopar, no car, die hard, right? So let me just get that out the way. But if you want to see some Mopars chasing a Ford Mustang around for a perfect amount of time, that's an excellent movie.
I'm not a fan of Nick Cage. I mean, he's okay. You know, I just watched the movie from, I think it was like 2000, Family Man or something like that. Or it was like when he got a different life where he was a businessman and then he got a life where he switched or it was like an alter universe where he all of a sudden became if you would have chosen this, then this is the life you get.
It was a retelling of like basically Ebenezer Scrooge. Basically.
Right. And it was pretty good. Had Amy Smart in it, but yeah, no, his acting, there's something about it, man. This is so robotic and boring, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan. I'll watch something if he's in it. I mean, he's kind of almost along the lines of John Travolta, which is ironic considering they were both in Face Off. And they started making some movies that just, it's like, just no.
Yeah.
No, I mean, thanks for doing it, and I hope thank God, I guess we didn't get to see him as Superman, but that would have been something unique, if Tim Burton had his way with that. But,
hey, I'm stealing y'all away from other Derrick for a second so I can tell y'all about our brilliant sponsor, Grave Before Shave. Grave Before Shave offers everything you could possibly need for your hair up there. They've got oils, balms, butters. They've got waxes for your mustache, shampoo, conditioner. There's so much stuff. I don't have the time to sit here and tell you about everything. Head over to their website, gravebeforeshave.com. See something you like, take it to the checkout. Before you check out, apply the code ALSO-RAN for 15% off your purchase. If you're undecided on which scent is right for you, they have an excellent bundle of oils that has one of each of their brilliant scents. I prefer the Pumpkin Smash. My wife absolutely loves their brand new Liquid Gold. It smells like adult bubble gum. That's the only way I can think to describe it. So head over there, gravebeforeshave.com. Find something you like, check it out, use our discount code ALSO-RAN for 15% off. You won't be disappointed. Now, back to that other handsome bearded fella.
Enough of that. car movies, sir. Car movies. What car movies get your blood flowing? Like, so I'm gonna, before you even get started, let me just preface by saying this. My guilty addiction is Fast and Furious movies. It was. Wow. As soon as they went to space in a Pontiac Fiero, I was kind of done with it. But up until that point,
I would have never pegged you a Fast and the Furious guy.
Well, the first movie, it took a little while for me to like it, but then as the movies came out and as Dodge, as Mopar products started being more prominent in the movies, as a proud member of the Brotherhood of Muscle, I had to back my family. And I don't know if you noticed or not, but Fast and Furious is also about family. So, but yeah, Pontiac Fiero in outer space, that's where I kind of had. I could take the fact that if you compare the first Fast and Furious, when Dominic Toretto rolled once, got out, was like, oh, that sucked. That was tolerable. But Dominic Toretto barrel rolling out of a 3 or 4 storied garage that's collapsing on top of him, and then just being like, oh yeah, that sucked, but I'm good.
Yeah, well, as far as car movies, there's really not a whole lot of car movies I really like. I like, obviously Talladega Nights. Again, I'm not a big fan of the actor of Will Ferrell. I think that he's got some amazing movies, Anchorman and some other movies, Elf for Christmas Time, but like, he plays the same character in every movie. His best movie is Night at the Roxbury. And that's nothing compared to what he does now, because that was like a unique character that he did not continue on. So, but I don't know. He to me is just like cheap laughs. So, but with that being said, a movie that I saw recently that is now one of my favorites, something I'll go back and watch again. I am a big horror movie buff, and I finally watched the movie Christine. And I can't remember when that was made in the 80s.
Wait a minute. You just saw Christine for the first time.
Yeah. And the only reason why I watched it is because I see the poster all the time, and it had that cool car on it. And I was like, I should watch this, Yeah. But I really don't know anything about it.
That is a Mopar.
Yeah.
That is I think it's a Plymouth Fury, if I'm not mistaken.
And then the good guy car is like a 69 Charger, something like that, 70 Charger. So, yeah, that's an awesome movie. I don't know. I'm again not a huge fan of Days of Thunder. I know that's gonna disappoint everybody, but I watched Days of Thunder, and I guess it's because I'm such a big fan. That I'm like, I watch it and it's so fake and corny, and I like the old school feel of it. I like the throwback feel of it, but the movie itself, I don't know. I'm very much a realist, so take that with what you will, because I also say I watch horror movies, so I can watch zombies and everything else. But that's why I can't do superhero movies very much. It has to be relatable and believable. It has to be down to earth to me. So like an Iron Man was okay. Tobey Maguire Spider-Man was cool, but I can't get into the Avengers where they have 17 different characters and the bad guy is some scrawny little guy from outer space. That's just, no. But yeah, so.
See, I think what did it for me, excuse me, was the fact that I spent my childhood watching movies and TV shows where for some reason throughout the 80s, I'm a legit 80s baby. Anybody that was born in the 70s, late 70s, and can remember growing up early, mid 80s, you're an 80s baby. If you were born in 82 and you came around 88, 89, technically, yes, you're an 80s baby, but that don't count, man. You got to remember waiting all week long for the next episode of A-Team or the Dukes of Hazzard or something like that. But every TV show back then, even Simon and Simon, you have to look it up. I think it's two lawyers. They had a Dodge Power Wagon, and It's like, what purpose does this truck serve other than just being a bad Fall Guy is another one, Stuntman movie, which may be relevant to stuff coming up later in this episode, but a really good movie. So being a car guy, being growing up in the 80s, before a lot of stuff changed in Hollywood with computer technology and whatnot, a movie that I'd highly recommend, two movies that I would highly recommend. One had Jim Caviezel in it. It's called Highwaymen, where he drives around in a 67, 66 drag race ready Barracuda. And it's a fly under the radar type of movie. It didn't get a lot of pomp and circumstance. When people talk about great car movies, it's hardly ever mentioned, but it is a really good car movie. And then Quentin Tarantino's Death Proof. Some people consider the car chase in Bullet with Steve McQueen to be the greatest car chase of all time, and it is. Steve McQueen, somebody suggested to him, you don't need a soundtrack for the car chase, let the cars do the talking. So the Mustang and the Dodge Charger tearing through the streets of San Francisco, it's brilliant. Death Proof had a chance to be better because you had two Mopars, a 69 Dodge Charger chasing a 1970 Dodge Challenger, Alpine White, a Vanishing Point Challenger. That's another car movie, Mopar car movie, about a car chase. Death Proof had the chance to be the greatest car chase ever, except the stunt woman was obviously in a Quentin Tarantino movie. Let's just say the 4-letter words were she was painting tapestries behind the wheel of the car as she was chasing Kurt Russell. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah. Well, heck, man. Let's let everybody know. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. All that fun stuff. We have a lot of fun doing this, but ultimately we do it so that we can have viewers like you, and hopefully people are tuning in more and more. Obviously, the shoe show has been gone for a while, so people might be not used to seeing this channel up anymore. And rate and review for audio stuff. So our guest today, why don't you tell me a little bit about the guest, and then I got some things I want to show you.
Well, I'm just going to come out and say it. Our guest is Stanton Barrett. He's been involved in NASCAR for a couple decades now. And when he is not driving race cars, I don't want to give too much away because we're about to show the interview, and I want whatever happens in the interview to be relevant and new. But yeah, he for the most part, he's always been known as a Hollywood stuntman, race car driver. But the stuntman side of his life goes back to his father, and he does some crazy stuff. So let's see what you got. Yeah.
So first off, most times we do our show, we have an interview, and then we do the intro afterwards so that we can let everybody know what exactly they can be excited for, what we thought was interesting. Today, we're doing it the opposite because I actually wanted to show Derrick this for the first time. I watched it earlier today, being the producer and putting everything together, and I was like, dude, this is so cool. So I want to show this to you. We'll discuss, and then I have one other thing I wanted to bring up before we bring up our guests. So let's check this out.
My favorite picture is me in the bag with my dad. I was probably less than 2 years old. I had to be 1. And just this huge smile on my face, and I'm in a stunt bag, and I don't even know. My dad gave me that bag, and the majority of the movies I've gone to, I use that little bag as my stunts. I still use some of his old school pads for some of the biggest stunts. Thinking back, I was so happy I'm the little kid in this bag, and then to know what I did life with that bag, and the legacy that I hopefully have continued for my dad and the people who've helped us. It's just funny how the world works, you know. You get that little picture, you're 1 year old, and you have no idea what that bag and that person's going to end up doing, but that's my favorite picture. It means a lot to me, and you know, it reflects the same kid smile, the same feeling I get when I go to work. I love going to work, and I love trying to invent things and make things better and do better stuff, and just what that bag has meant to me in an odd way, in a reflective way. You know, I've had great mentors. I mean, the greatest pretty much in the stunt industry with Hal Needham, who is the godfather of stunts. You know, he's responsible for my dad getting in the business, which in return is really responsible for getting my brother and I into the business. My dad has been a great coach and has taken a tremendous amount of time and patience and risk putting us in jobs and teaching us really how to do what we do. It's been great to grow up around these guys and be given chances to do, because it's definitely a very, very complex business, and the best guys understand a lot about the business and many elements and aspects of what we do beyond just the stunts. That makes a great stuntman. There's so much complexity that goes into every element of what we do. You can't take anything for granted. You gotta understand what you're doing, and you gotta be able to lay it on the line and risk your life in a situation that you know you are gonna get hurt, and it's a matter of how bad. And then you gotta perform under those circumstances and lay it out there and make it look like it's supposed to, and execute the timing and everything that it takes to pull some of these big stunts off that, you know, really only a handful of guys in the business get to do. It takes a different mental process and approach, and something like this, where you're trying to flip a car 10 times, it's going to take something a little bit more unique than the traditional cannon and pipe ramps, and a little bit more thought into what we're doing here that I like to think I bring into all my bigger stunts, and how I invent a lot of things that have been used today. We can do that and achieve what we want, and get the world record flips out of the Barrett kicker. It's a unique system, and we're trying to beat a record here and do something really cool.
So, I watched that earlier, and I was like, dang, man, this is so freaking cool. I mean, that stuff is intense, bro. Like, it makes NASCAR boring.
I am super psyched for this interview now, because there was personal aspects of the interview that you know, I definitely wanted to touch on, but seeing some of that and introducing Stanton Barrett to some new fans, you know, let's go, let's get it.
Yeah, dude. And that's the point of this show, where, you know, hopefully we'll bring on some people that everybody knows as well. But it's, you know, like you said, you know, I think in our first show that we want to open people's eyes to people out there that Fox or ESPN or whoever it is not highlighting, because, you know, there's so many more cool aspects in the garage than just, you know, the top 10. So
the Lord has led us down this path, so let's get these people out there. Hopefully, you know, help them with their race teams, with their careers. You know, just if anything, help the fans to have another reason to watch cars go in circles on a weekend, right? So
yeah. So one other thing I wanted to show you. He's going to be jumping on here soon. He sent us like a resume. I'd imagine this is something he would send over to, you know, Hollywood or wherever else. But so I thought this was pretty cool. So hold on, where's it at? Right here. All right. So he's now directing and doing camera operator stuff. I saw a photo of him hanging outside of a helicopter and recording in the back cabin of an open helicopter. So just some of these movies and TV shows were pretty cool. The Now You See Me there listed that one was the one with that car flipping in the beginning of that video that we just watched. And you got Scream.
Well, there's some that you don't even see on screen yet. Because I made a list. I made a list of my own just so that way I could
feature films.
Yeah, Spider-Man 1 and 2. He actually was a stunt double for James Franco. So I mean, that's not something subtle.
Yeah.
Like that's a significant. The movie Logan, Wolverine movie. He was the stunt double and driving double for Hugh Jackman. So yeah, I mean it's
Chips.
It's an impressive resume.
I imagine the recreation of Chips. Yeah, so many good movies in here. The Dukes of Hazzard, I imagine that'd be the most recent one.
Yes, he did some driving work in that, I believe.
SpongeBob, that's funny. I'd have to watch a SpongeBob movie to find out what stunts are doing there.
No, we'll bring that up in the conversation.
Yeah, just looking at the lists of these movies that even if I'm a fan of, just they're big movies, man.
Mars Attacks.
Oh yeah, Mars Attacks. Yeah, these are TV shows. I did see Scrubs on here, which me and my wife are a big fan of the old Scrubs show. Hoping the new one's good. And if anybody's listening to this on audio, you don't see what we're looking at, so you're definitely gonna have to watch it on YouTube to see all this if you're interested. Yeah, just it's nuts, man. So I'm gonna stop sharing that. So yeah, man, I'm excited. I'm excited to have him on. I think this is gonna be really fun to. He's gonna have pretty cool stories, I think. So
yeah. So let's stop being excited and let's just get him on the show.
Yeah, man, let's do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I am super excited to welcome to the Also Ran broadcast, Stanton Barrett. Stanton, how the heck are you doing, man?
I'm great, man. Thank you very much for asking. How you doing?
Oh, I am fantastic, man. I got you on the other side over there, and to be honest with you, doing some research about you, like I knew who you were from watching. I've been watching the sport since 2004, and I knew who you were, but I've matured as a race fan over the years, so I didn't really know who you were. So doing research for this, yeah, I've come to discover, who your father was and other little things about you that just kind of tie into when I was younger and growing up, certain relationships you had and all. Would you mind beginning just by kind of, for those fans that are watching that aren't familiar with you, could you just kind of give them a brief, introduction to yourself, I guess you could say?
It might be a little tough, but I'll try. I started out in film and kind of auto racing close to the same time. Started in I guess film was a bit earlier. I was 15 years old when I started doing movies. 1980 was something. I won't give all the dates away, so don't give all my secrets away. But and I started racing in 91. Go-karting a little bit, and then got into racing. So my background is film, and my dad was a stuntman, a very famous stuntman. He had doubled Paul Newman and Burt Reynolds, and did through there. You see them, and Hal Needham there on the left of the screen. He was the most famous stuntman, kind of the godfather, not the godfather of stunts, but the godfather of innovation of stunts, and really brought a lot to Hollywood, and also directed like Smoking the Bandit, Hooper, Cannonball Run, was the highest grossing producer director in Hollywood until Titanic. Just a very vibrant guy and gutsy guy. And so there, yeah, you know, you have my dad and Paul and I, and just kind of grew up around the business, but also grew up in the mountains in a very small town of 4,500 people with one stoplight, and hunting and fishing and all that fun stuff, and riding motorcycles and skiing and mountain biking. My mom was a World Cup skier. She's the youngest woman to win a World Cup medal. And she was 15 years old. She made the Olympic team in the 60s, won a world championship medal. She was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. My grandpa coached the U.S. ski team. So I've been involved in sports and athletics, and been around race cars with my dad and Paul, and in the movie business. So that's kind of been my background, from racing, owning teams, driving, also, directing, producing movies, writing, producing commercials, writing creative for advertisers and commercial world, and onto the stunt stuff. Got that opportunity through my dad. Obviously, it was a very tight knit business back then, and so I had great mentors with Hal Needham and Mickey Gilbert, who doubled Redford and has done so many amazing movies and TV series, Fall Guy to, just name it all. So I grew up around a great class of people in the industry, very well respected, and got into car racing when I was 16. When I could drive, I never thought I'd race cars. I was racing motorcycles and ski racing, and I'm like, well, I'm old enough to drive now, because back then it was a little bit different than now. You couldn't drive, so or drive a race car. We drove our cars out in the desert and stuff, but so kind of always been around racing and loved it, and loved motorsports in general, and was very mechanical, and got into racing. So I'm still doing it, 35 years later.
Yeah, that was something I saw in another interview that you had done, was that you actually didn't start out on four wheels. You started out on two.
Yeah, from when I was really young, we used to ride I started out on three wheels with a tricycle. My brother and I racing around. I think I sent you all a picture of that, in a football helmet, and raced tricycles with my brother all the time, and that was really fun. And then got into BMX, and then motorcycles, and then that turned into go-karts and cars, and anything with a motor I just always loved. I mean, I originally thought I would be a fighter pilot. That's what I wanted to do. And I had already broken so many bones by the time I was 16. My grades weren't that great. So, which is another story. And my grades were great, and they weren't so great. So I skipped a year when I got put back a year. So, I just didn't line up. I wanted to go to Air Force Academy and be a fighter pilot, and that didn't work out. Or my dad's like, "You're never going to get in. You have way too many broken bones." And I'm like, "Okay, well, then I'll go do extreme sports." And that's what I did.
What do you think being a father myself, what do you think your dad, what do you think his hopes were that you would lean towards as you grew older? Like do you think he had a career in mind that was far away from what he was doing, throwing himself off of things, or do you think he was just kind of satisfied with whatever you're doing as long as you were happy?
Both my parents are pretty supportive in a lot of different aspects of my life, or growing up. We played soccer and football and did all kinds of different, cool things. And I ski raced for a long time and stopped doing that. And then I really loved motorcycles and motocross racing. So, I turned pro when I was 16,
and we had had a factory ride with KTM, my brother and I. Primarily, my brother was one of the best, if not, he was kind of the best rider in the country on 80s, and we developed the KTM 80s when they came out back in the 80s. And so I loved motorcycles, and I thought I would do that. And then I got into car racing and movies paid really well. So it was like we have all these skills in motorcycles and skiing, and we grew up around film and being taught fights and the art of filmmaking. You know, it's not just doing stunts and action stuff. There's an art to actually making films. So that was intriguing and paid well. So kind of went down that path and got out of motocross. And I still dabbled in it a lot because I started racing when I was 17. So I really wanted to race cars. So it kind of went a lot of directions, but primarily it was a little bit, I had a lot of ambition, and my parents never really, they didn't want me to race cars, really. My dad didn't want me to race so much, and my mom, but you know, I did dangerous stuff all the time, whether it was skiing or stunts or motorcycles or climbing rocks. You know, I was a rock climbed a lot. Where I grew up in California is world class climbing, and so nothing I did was really safe. So the you know, it was like, well, you guys aren't really safe, so you're not good examples. So you can't really tell me what I can and can't do. But they were pretty supportive overall. You know, never like saying, oh, you got to go do one thing or another thing, and kind of let us make our own choices.
So something I wanted to ask you about, and you touched on it with your father's career, because that was, when I saw that, that kind of astonished me, because I was born in 78. So when I grew up with Burt Reynolds and Cannonball Run. And I grew up with Smokey and the Bandit. I mean, I've got a stack of movies here that I pulled out, and just, you know, three of the movies. I don't know if you mentioned Stroker Ace or not. Did your dad work on Stroker Ace?
I don't think he did, because during that time he kind of got into Stunts Unlimited. He kind of started, which is kind of the start of like stunt organizations or clubs or whatever you want to call them. He and Hal and some other people kind of invented or made Stunts Unlimited at the time, and that's like a coordinator group and stuntmen, and they all look out for each other. So they my dad kind of got out of it for a little bit and then got back into it. So Stroker Ace, he wasn't really a part of that one, but all those other ones he was.
All the movies that he did when you were younger, is there one? Well, did he often take you to the sets so that way you could experience what he was doing, or was that one of those things where no?
Kind of, well, because I was really young when he got. Well, he was involved in it in the 60s, right? So I was not born yet, but when I was really young, we lived in a small town, Bishop, California, which is near Mammoth, California, which is about, back then, probably 6 hours from LA. So my dad would drive a lot back and forth to go to work. And then, and he was a real family man, so he really spent time with his family, but he would go back and forth. He didn't want us to live in LA like most people did. So I didn't really grow up being around it a lot. I remember I loved to travel and I loved adventure. So I remember one time going down to LA with him because I just loved to be in cars and like feel like I was going somewhere. I was probably 6 years old, and we went to Universal, went into the lot, and stage one is on your left, and that's where they have like a pool or ability to make like a pool for water stuff. And they were painting a shark. I'm like, Dad, what's that? And he's like, oh, they're making some movie called Jaws, and we kept driving into the back lot area. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And I like sharks, so I love sharks and jets and whales back then, and obviously motorcycles. But so I always remember that. That's kind of the first time I ever remember going to a movie set. I don't even know what movie it was on or what we did after that. I just remember them painting Jaws out there in the parking lot in front of stage one. And later on, I was doing Jurassic Park, and we were doing all the underwater stuff on stage one. So, like, 25 years later, or 30 maybe. No, it's like 20 years later. I'm on stage one doing scenes for Jurassic Park under the water where they were filming Jaws too. So, and I remember that time with my dad. So yeah, I wasn't around movie sets a lot too much because I was always, in my little hometown shooting guns and fishing and hiking and riding motorcycles and skiing and, doing kid stuff. Back then, that was kid stuff.
Yeah. I have something else I want to touch on before. Well, two things before because I mean I could sit here. I'm long-winded. I could sit here and take up all your time just talking about when you were younger but I do want to touch on the fact that Paul Newman was your godfather.
Yes, he was. So my dad and him developed a great relationship because my dad doubled him and they became friends. And, I had a really close relationship with Paul. He was an amazing guy, and got to work with him some and actually got to double him on some movies. So, but that was all cultivated through my dad's relationship with him. And, yeah, so they were really close friends, and Paul was an amazing guy that I really miss, and has been a big inspiration and example just as a human being.
Yeah, I knew, growing up, like I said, growing up in the 80s, I knew who Paul Newman was, and my dad was a fan. But I'm going to take a moment to plug this documentary by Adam Carolla, Winning the Racing Life of Paul Newman. I watched this, and now every salad dressing in my refrigerator is Newman's own. But
he did a lot for a lot of people. Yeah, that was a great documentary. They reached out to me a little bit after he passed away if I wanted to speak about it, and it was so hard to even think about Paul. I mean, he was such a close friend of mine, and kind of like a father, grandfather figure. And so I was like, nah, I can't even bring up stories or talk about him at that time. And it's still even really hard, I get pretty emotional. And just a great friend and close. And I would get phone calls from him all the time when I'm qualifying or after a race and before. I'd talk to him sometimes when I'm getting into the car. And he was just a great friend, and he was again like a father to me, or a grandfather.
And he's a lot of people may not know that he's also somewhat largely responsible for Victory Junction Gang, because he had the Hole in the Wall gang, which helped these underprivileged kids be able, or handicapped kids that would never be able to do things based on their physical handicaps and whatnot, that eventually when Adam Petty was killed, and they decided, his dad and his grandfather decided they wanted to do something to honor him. They saw what Paul Newman had done with that, and next thing you know, Paul Newman is basically responsible for the Victory Junction Gang, which I'm pretty sure any racing fan has heard of. But
yeah, of course, they kind of molded it after Paul's camp Hole in the Wall. So, they got to see what he was doing with that, and they want to implement the same system. So Paul actually helped them a bit figure out, how to put that together, and the structure and purpose and whatnot. And Kyle, took it upon himself to create that great thing. But it's very much molded after the Hole in the Wall game, where they focus on terminally ill kids and giving them a week of an experience with the ability to go enjoy things and have the medical staff and the infrastructure to accommodate, having those illnesses and or physical elements or situations where they can't, go to a normal camp. So what Paul has done and Kyle and his family has been tremendous and really inspiring.
Yes, no doubt. Now, I feel like I've taken up a lot of your time just talking about the past, but we haven't even hardly touched on racing. So you have raced open wheel. You have raced with the open wheel guys called the taxi cabs. You've raced trucks. Are they called Baja trucks or trophy trucks?
Those are the stadium trucks, the Robbie Gordon stadium trucks. I only ran a couple races at Nashville, but they're super fun.
Yeah, so I mean, you've done a lot of stuff over the years. Was touching back on your Godfather? His IndyCar involvement? Did that have anything to do with you going to try the open wheel stuff, or?
I mean, I always loved open wheel because I've always been around it. I used to fly to the races with Paul, my dad, and Chip Ganassi, and flown with Mario with him to go meet him. And, so I've been around it a lot, and I've always been interested in that. Early on in my career, when I had started out, I was the youngest driver in NASCAR. So I had a bit of hype and I was doing pretty well. So there was some interest I was interested in open wheel too. And I had some really good opportunities through Paul in my relationship there early on. And I chose to go to the NASCAR route because back then I felt like you had more of a chance to make it driver and a paid driver by talent to go to NASCAR. And I went over to meet with Benetton and their team and their F2000 team. And I got a deal with NASCAR to drive for somebody. So I kind of went that route, after a couple of years of racing. So I had a chance to go open wheel. And, I just thought a better opportunity for somebody who didn't have the funding and just off talent, hopefully, to have a career in racing. So I went that way, but then throughout the NASCAR racing, I always wanted to do open wheel. And just, the schedule back then was 36 races, and you test Daytona in December, you go in January and test, and then Daytona Speed Weeks was 2 weeks, so there wasn't time to fit anything else in, or back then people weren't jumping from open wheel to NASCAR or sports car to NASCAR. Now everything's acceptable, right? You see people crossing over in all kinds of different types of racing formats. So it wasn't normal back then to do that. So if I was born 30 years later, it would have been awesome. But the sport was different back then. And so, yeah, I was like, man, I'd love to run IndyCar. And I really worked towards that, later on in my career, and got an opportunity with a sponsor that I had and a team that was starting up. And so I got to go run a few races. We set out to try to do the full year and then do a mix of NASCAR races with my own team on the NASCAR side, but this new IndyCar team, and they weren't able to find the funding that they thought, but I got to run some races, and it was although not the best equipment, we had a good time, and I got to say I ran IndyCars and we had some okay runs. But it's always been an interest of mine, and always fascinated about the IndyCar series, and it's a great series too.
Yeah, and you are one of two people to do it backwards. You and Jimmy Johnson were both drivers that started in the stock cars and then went the Indy route, whereas most other people, Juan Pablo Montoya, I can't think of his
Bill
name.
New, Dan Patrick.
Thank you.
There's all kinds of guys.
Yeah. Oh, and even Dario Franchitti.
Dario Franchitti. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. He came in, was around long enough to break his ankle at Daytona, I think. Andretti.
You had AJ Foyt. I mean, there's been some pretty amazing drivers that have gone from IndyCar to NASCAR, but not so much the other way. Yes,
Well, and then there's also
even Tony
this other.
Stewart.
Yeah, I
And
was going
I
to say
mean,
there's
even
that
current guys.
smoke guy. Yeah, and then Tony's coming to Daytona to race a truck, so that's pretty cool. Were you influenced at all to do NASCAR because your father ran, I think, like 19 races back in the day for Burt and Howe's Skoal team?
Yeah, so after my dad did the rocket car, he got, well, Hal's always been interested in motorsports and no, well, not, I wouldn't say always, but when my dad did the rocket car, Hal and then Paul was very active in that rocket car program. Went to Burt and Paul, and they're all buddies, right? Hal Needham and Burt and Paul and my dad, and they're like, hey, let's go racing. So they got together and kind of put all their resources and relationships and started the Skoal Bandit team. So my dad started there, and so I was 9 years old then, and we moved to North Carolina, and so I kind of grew up around it, but I didn't, not like a Dale Jr. per se. So, and I was so young then. I just thought it was cool. I would never thought I'd race cars. I was into motorcycles and skiing and stuff like that, and BMX bikes, and so no, I didn't really ever think I was gonna be a race car driver or grew up in like a second generation racing family, and that would be the next step.
Yeah, you mentioned the rocket car, and I can't let it go without, because a lot of people don't know about the rocket car, which you can, if I'm not mistaken, you can still see it in Talladega at their international Hall of Fame. He did or did not break the sound barrier in that car?
So when the guys with Greg Breedlove or whatever, they went out when the Shell America car, whatever it was, they really did some poor character PR to try to debunk my dad, but he did break the speed of sound. There's some pictures, and I wish I would have sent them to you, but you can see the shock waves underneath the tires, and the tires were lifted off for 1,100 feet at 740 miles an hour. So you can actually see the shock wave, and through the dust, the shock waves and the wheels off the ground. And you have NASA and the Air Force, and I mean, it's like there's a whole report. I've seen it. It's a book like this big that goes over the telemetry, and they're like, well, people who've tried to debunk it, everybody's trying to discredit somebody for gain. So we'll correct that someday. But it was primarily that group that was trying to raise money to go out and do it and say they're the first ones. But absolutely, the Budweiser rocket car was the first one to go speed of sound on the ground. And there's more than just data evidence. I mean, you can just see from the picture, you can tell. I mean, the shock waves are there. And I was there, and there was a sonic boom, but that's almost irrelevant, right? So, one of the generals of the Air Force back then is like, oh, we can calculate this space shuttle within, 10 thousandths of a mile per hour at, 60,000 miles away. We sure can calculate the accuracy of the speed of a rocket car within, a mile and a half of our center. So
Right.
it's kind of funny, but how people are. It's like, whatever. It's like my dad knows what he did, and people that are around and surrounded it. And I think we'll work on, and that's always bothered my dad a bit. I'm like, who cares? You know what you did, and let people think what they want. And how society, excuse me, society is. Sometimes they always want to discredit something, but he absolutely did it, and there's real data behind it.
So
And the guy that started that actually wrote an article, and my dad sent him all the data in relationship that from the Air Force and NASA. And the guy apologized profusely to my father, in relationship to like I miswrote that. I should have done more research, and then but that gave everybody wheels to like kind of go after the story. And it's how people are, they want to discredit stuff instead of really look into the reasoning why and the data behind it. But there's a couple really good pictures that it's, if you have any type of aeronautic science or engineering behind you, you can pretty much, even common sense, you can tell that he did what he said he did and what people claim, or what our team claimed on his side.
So, where are you at these days with your NASCAR career? Have you pretty much hung up your helmet and have decided that with all the efforts that you put into getting sponsorship and funding your own teams, that you're it's in your best interest now with having a vineyard in your own winery to keep everything that you've got going on? You're basically like a modern day Renaissance man, right? From all the stuff you're involved with. So have you relegated yourself to strictly team ownership now, or what's going on with that?
I've been coaching a lot. I do a lot of sports car and vintage stuff. I got a shop in Denver where we restore cars and do, sports car restoration and building things and taking customers to vintage races. But we have a Trans-Am team this year, which we just announced today, where I'll be running a full series of the TA2 Cube 3 Trans-Am series. With Acelius and 88 AT8 energy drink, or a nutritional drink. So that was a sponsor that I had back in the mid 2000s on my stock car, or a guy that owned a company there. And he loves motorsports, and we've really worked well together and worked a lot together on global branding and marketing. And he knows what motorsports can do as far as what sponsorship does and growing a brand. So they jumped on board this year to be a part of that program. And I've got another driver, Graham Jacobson, who I've been coaching as a real talent. And so I'm playing both roles right now, with an ownership hat and coaching, and also driving. And then we started an alliance together with Cope Family Racing and created Barrett Cope Racing for the O'Reilly series this year, which I'll run a few races, but we have a couple different drivers going to be onboarding there. So kind of building the ownership. Yeah, there you go. That's one of them.
Wore the shirt on purpose, man.
Yeah.
Give you a little, promote Daytona for you a little bit.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. I've known Carson since he was a kid, and drove for his father and helped his father a lot early on. Well, not so early on, but when I was getting out, and I've driven for him quite a bit. And then, his kids got of age to driving. And so it's pretty fun to kind of go first full circle in a way where, I'm owning the team, and also, or co-owners with an organization that provides Carson the opportunity to race with us. And showcase his talent, because that kid truly is a talented driver and has an ability to run in the O'Reilly series up front. So we're working really hard to provide him the equipment. I'll jump in some of the races this year, and multiple drivers. So, and we still have some seats open that we're working on, speaking to some people. We got into it late in the game for as far as this year goes. So a lot of guys who had would have had interest, or we talked to, we hadn't put the program together completely. And so it's going to be a good program. It's going to be a fun season, hopefully, and showcase Carson and some other drivers and help them really develop their careers as drivers, and using some of the experience that we have as an ownership group and our network to really hopefully make them successful and prove what they can do.
Yeah, I know it. So when I first reached out to you to see if you wanted to do the show, and you agreed to it, I was excited. And then shortly after that, the news came out that Barrett Cope Racing was a thing, and that made me even more excited because, ironically, you mentioned the Trans-Am series. I actually got to meet Derrick Cope at where I live, just outside of New Orleans. There's a racetrack on the West Bank. They call it the West Bank. That's close to New Orleans, NOLA Motorsports Park. And he was out there. There was actually a lot of NASCAR people out there, which surprised me. And so I got a chance to talk to him a little bit. A lot of people didn't recognize him. So having met him and then having you on the show, I was super excited to hear that news. And then, just yesterday, day before, seeing Carson was going to be running Daytona, it made me super excited. I'm slightly biased. I like who I like. I'm not ashamed of it. Some people, they're bandwagon fans, and you can't have a show called the Also Ran Broadcast and be a bandwagon fan, because there's so many more amazing stories that need to be told other than this guy who wins 6-7 races a year, but I'm having a lot of fun with this interview, but I'm long-winded. This could last all night. We have a special thing that we do for the show for our guests, because your time is so precious and we appreciate you coming on. This is called the White Flag segment of the race, and I'm going to give you a brief moment of time where if there's anything you want to point out, the Trans-Am racing or anything you got coming up this year that you really want to highlight for our fans out there to pay attention to. The last lap is yours, sir.
Oh man, that's a tough one. So I think just overall, it's exciting being in the Trans Am series, and I love sports car racing and road racing in general. I think we have some other things that we're going to announce soon with that team. That's exciting. Graham is a great driver. I'm really excited that Carson's involved with us. We put a lot of energy into him, and for me, at my age and everything that I have going on with the other businesses, wine, and working on directing more movies and whatnot, I'm putting a lot of personal energy into that because, we are helping somebody like Carson, and I really believe in him and give him the opportunity where he can showcase his real talent, and, hopefully we run where we think we can and give them the opportunities. But, when you work so hard as an owner or driver in this sport, and it takes a lot of passion and dedication, and, that's really what it's about, because we can do other things. And, per se, you talk about underdogs, and in some aspect we are underdogs, but, I've spent 35 years racing cars, and I've spent a tremendous amount of time building and working on them and setting them up and learning about it. So just to be able to pass that on to other people who really have a passion for racing, and help these guys and it's a very complex sport, and a lot of people don't know the nuances of the complexity relationship of the sport and all the details of it. It takes a lot of a different kind of person and experience, and Derrick has that, I have it, and people that we have involved in it. So we're just looking to go have a lot of fun and help people along the way, giving them opportunities, and go show that both young guys who have ambition to race and older gentlemen hopefully can still get it done. So that's just what we're doing. We build cool race cars and go to cool tracks and restore cool cars, and give people opportunities to work in the industry they love, and that's what we're here for.
Nice. All right. Well, once again, thank you for coming on. For those that are watching or listening, I want to remind y'all to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you are listening, make sure you rate and review. Let us know if there's anything you want to see us do better, something you want to see us do less of, so that way we can have more wonderful guests like Stanton Barrett on, and just kind of get y'all some more NASCAR culture, as it were. So with that having been said, thanks again. Stanton. We appreciate you coming on.
I wanted to be in the race shop, but I'm at my buddy Kenny Hendrick's house, who used to race for me, and there's pictures in the background. So, yeah, it's a little late, and we're trying to engage with your fan base and your viewership. And like I said, love to be on another time with y'all and talk about the season as it progresses.
Oh, definitely. I feel like this interview, like I said, it could have gone a lot longer, and there's a lot of questions that I didn't get to and a lot of things I wanted to talk about. So we'll just have to stick a pin in that for right now. And ladies and gentlemen, I think it's about time that we hand this off to Mr. Corey LaJoy.
Let me read Hebrews 12:1 real quick. Therefore, since we're surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw up everything that hinders and the sin so easily entangles. Let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. Let's freaking go.